Hello friends, welcome back. First of all, tell me where in the world you're watching my video from. When you reach a certain age, silence stops feeling empty. It starts feeling necessary. At 66, after too many years of hospitals, warning signs, and doctors who spoke softly like they were afraid to scare your heart into stopping, I had learned that peace wasn't comfort. It was survival. That afternoon in June, the desert sun pressed down on Las Vegas like a punishment. 105 degrees. The kind of heat that steals breath and patience in equal measure. I had just left Sunrise Hospital. The doctor's voice still echoed in my ears as I drove. Your blood pressure spikes when you're emotionally agitated. Thomas, you need to avoid stress. Avoid stress. I turned off the air conditioner anyway. The hot air flooded the car instantly, wrapping around my chest like something honest. Discomfort kept my mind clear. Comfort made me careless. Charleston Boulevard stretched ahead of me, shimmering under the sun, the asphalt trembling as if it were alive. Traffic thickened near Rainbow. Engines idled. Horns chirped impatiently. I stopped at the red light and rested my hands on the steering wheel, letting my thoughts drift nowhere in particular. That's when I saw her. She moved between the lanes slowly, not with confidence, not with performance, but with exhaustion that weighed her down. Her clothes were torn at the seams, stained dark with sweat and dust. Her feet were bare against asphalt hot enough to blister skin in seconds. Strapped to her chest was a baby. Too small, too still. The infant's head lolled weakly against her shoulder, cheeks flushed an unhealthy red. The woman clutched a handful of coins, counting them again and again. Not casually, but desperately, as if each quarter decided whether she and that child would eat. I should have looked away. Las Vegas had trained people to look away, but something pulled my eyes closer. A tug I couldn't explain. She bent down when a coin slipped from her fingers, and when she lifted her face again, the world fractured. My chest seized so violently I couldn't breathe. It was Jessica, my daughter. The woman standing barefoot in the street, hollow-eyed, sunburned, trembling, was the same little girl I used to carry on my shoulders at the county fair. The same child who once cried because her ice cream melted too fast. The name tore from my throat before I could stop it. Jessica. I threw open the car door. She looked up, and instead of relief, her face filled with terror. Dad, no, she whispered urgently, backing away like I was a danger. Please, you can't. You have to go. Her eyes darted around wildly, scanning the cars, the sidewalks, the shadows. They're watching us. My heart slammed against my ribs. Get in the car, I said, forcing my voice steady. Right now. No. She shook her head violently. Dad, please. I don't care who's watching. I opened the passenger door. Get in. She froze. The baby whimpered, a weak, broken sound that cut straight through me. I softened instantly. Jessica, I said quietly. Please, let me help you. Her face collapsed. Tears carved clean lines through the dirt on her cheeks. She looked around one last time, fear written into every movement, then stumbled toward the car. She climbed in, pulled the door shut, and folded inward like she was trying to disappear. The light turned green. Horns blared behind us. I didn't look back. I pulled forward and drove. For several blocks. The car was filled only with heat and quiet sobbing. Jessica rocked the baby gently, whispering things I couldn't hear. Her shoulders shook. The child lay pressed to her chest, far too limp for my comfort. I want to ask everything, but one question burned hotter than all the others. A question that didn't make sense. A question that sharpened my confusion into something cold. I glanced at her, this ghost of the daughter I had raised, the girl I had given everything to. Jessica, I said softly, breaking the silence. She flinched. Where are the house and the car I bought you? Her eyes closed. Her whole body trembled, and when she finally spoke, her words came apart in pieces. The house is gone, Dad, the Mercedes, the savings. All 400,000. My jaw locked. Kyle, I said. She nodded. Patricia, Garrett, all of them. I drove without direction, just putting distance between us and that intersection. The baby had gone frighteningly quiet. Tell me everything, I said, from the beginning. She took a breath that sounded like it hurt. 3 days after Sophie was born, she whispered, Kyle came home smiling. He brought me a gift. She tried to smile at the memory and failed. A silver bracelet. Engraved. Sophie's mom. I cried, Dad. I really thought he was being thoughtful. Her voice cracked. Then he said he was setting up insurance for Sophie. To protect her future. He said he just needed my signature. I felt ice spread through my chest. I hadn't slept in days, she continued. Sophie cried all night. I was exhausted. I didn't even read it. I already knew. What did you sign? I asked. Power of attorney. The words tasted like ash. I gave him control of everything. She swallowed hard. After that, they changed. Every morning, she told me, Garrett or Patricia would drive her to different intersections. They'd leave her there with Sophie. They said if I didn't make $20, I wouldn't eat. My hands tightened on the steering wheel. They watched me, Dad. Patricia parked nearby every day. At night, they locked me in a back room. Took my phone. Her voice dropped to almost nothing. They said if I contacted you, they'd take Sophie and I'd never see her again. I pulled a car over. My hands were shaking too badly to drive. Why didn't you run? I asked. Why didn't you find help? Tears spilled freely now. They told me you'd have a heart attack if you saw me like that. That you're 66. That the shock would kill you. She covered her face. But that's not why I didn't come. Her shoulders collapsed. I was ashamed. That word hit harder than anything else. You warned me about Kyle, she sobbed. You told me he asked too many questions about money. And I called you paranoid. I hurt you. I turned toward her. You fell in love, I said gently. That's not a crime. I lost everything you gave me. I don't care about any of it, I said firmly. You're alive. Sophie's alive. That's what matters. I took her hand. And I'm going to fix this. She looked at me, like she was afraid to believe it. As I started the engine again, one truth settled deep in my bones. This wasn't misfortune. This wasn't betrayal alone. This was something planned. And whoever had done this to my daughter had no idea what they'd just awakened. That night, I didn't take her home. Home no longer existed. I drove east, away from the lights that glittered too brightly, toward a place people passed without noticing. Henry Walsh's motel on Boulder Highway. It wasn't clean in the way new places are clean. It was clean in the way survivors keep things. Quiet. Forgotten. Safe. Henry was an old friend. The kind of man who'd learned that sometimes the best help was silence. When he saw Jessica step out of the car, barefoot and shaking, with Sophie clutched against her chest, he didn't ask a single question. He just handed me a key and said, Room 14, back corner. Then he returned with towels, water, a small bag of ice. No pity, no curiosity, just dignity. Inside the room, the air conditioner rattled like it was fighting for its life, but it worked. Cool air spilled over Jessica's skin, and she sagged onto the bed, still holding Sophie like she might vanish if loosened. For the first time since I'd seen her, the baby relaxed. Her tiny chest rose and fell evenly. I stood by the window, watching the parking lot through a narrow gap in the curtains, my body humming with adrenaline I couldn't shut off. For tonight, they were safe. But I knew men like Kyle didn't lose quietly. I sat in a chair by the door until morning. Every pair of headlights made my pulse jump. When dawn came, the desert heat followed quickly. I left before Jessica woke and drove to Walmart. Diapers, formula, clean clothes, soap, shampoo, a soft blanket with little yellow stars stitched into it. When I returned, Henry had somehow found a baby bottle. Jessica looked at the supplies like they were gifts from another world. Thank you, Dad, she whispered. I nodded. Words felt useless. Over the next 2 days, she began to look human again. She showered for the first time in weeks, long enough that the water went cold before she stepped out. When she slept hard, the kind of sleep that only comes after terror finally loosens its grip. I watched Sophie while she rested. The redness faded from the baby's cheeks. Her breathing became soft and steady. She curled her fingers around mine, without knowing why. Instinct trusting instinct. While they slept, I planned. Running wouldn't be enough. Kyle had money, connections, and the kind of confidence that comes from believing consequences are for other people. If I kept hiding Jessica, he would escalate. Men like him always do. I needed help. Real help. Lawyers. Investigators. People who understood how predators disguise themselves as family men. But before I could move, the knock came. 3 sharp raps. Pause. 3 more. Jessica sat upright instantly. Sophie clutched tight to her chest. Her face drained of color. Dad. I raised a finger. Stay quiet. The knock came again, firmer. Then a voice slid through the door. Polished. Friendly. Too smooth. Mr. Graham? My name's Brett. I'm here on behalf of Kyle Richardson. Every muscle in my body went rigid. There's been a misunderstanding. The man continued pleasantly. We'd like to talk it through like adults. I stepped closer to the door, but didn't open it. There's nothing to talk about. A pause. I understand emotions are high, Brett said. But Jessica is Kyle's wife. Sophie is his daughter. Another pause. Longer this time. If you're preventing her from returning home, that could be considered interference with custody. Custody. The word landed like a blade. Kyle threw them out, I said. That's not how Kyle tells it. Brett replied smoothly. He says Jessica left voluntarily. Abandoned the marriage. My jaw tightened. He's very concerned about Sophie's welfare, he added, especially considering Jessica was found begging on the streets. The rage inside me surged so fast my vision blurred. Here's what's going to happen, I said quietly. You're going to leave. You're going to tell Kyle that Jessica and Sophie are safe. And if he comes near them again, he'll regret it. Brett chuckled. It was an ugly sound. Sir, he said, you're an older man with a heart condition. Kyle has lawyers. Connections. He can make this very difficult for you. Get off the property. This isn't your property, he said lightly. It's a motel. Then his voice dropped. We'll find them again, Mr. Graham. And next time, we might not be so polite. Footsteps retreated. An engine started. And silence rushed back in like a held breath finally released. Jessica stood behind me, shaking. They know where we are. Not for long, I said. I called Henry. We were gone within 15 minutes. Back exit. No paperwork. No trail. Henry promised anyone asking that we checked out days ago. As I drove, one truth hardened in my chest. If they found us once, they'd find us again. And next time, they'd bring the law. We needed to stop running. Henderson felt different, quieter, removed from the chaos of Vegas. The apartment I'd arranged through an old colleague required key cards, cameras at every entrance. I walked Jessica through every lock. Don't open the door for anyone but me, I told her. She nodded. Where are you going? She asked. To get help. Samuel Porter's law office sat near the courthouse. Sharp glass, neutral walls, the kind of place where lies came to die. When he saw my face, he didn't bother with greetings. Who do I need to bury? He asked. I told him everything. He listened without interruption. When I finished, he leaned back slowly. You need more than a lawyer, he said. You need an investigator. 20 minutes later, Kenneth Morris walked in. Gray hair. Quiet eyes. A man who noticed everything. $400,000 doesn't vanish, Kenneth said. It leaves footprints. He asked for dates. Documents. Anything Jessica remembered signing. She signed power of attorney, I said. Kenneth's expression sharpened. That's fraud if it was misrepresented. Samuel nodded. We file a restraining order first. Then we build the case. What about custody? I asked. Samuel's gaze hardened. We'll prove she was homeless because Kyle made her homeless. When I left his office, something unfamiliar stirred in my chest. Hope. Then my phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. Your daughter's all over Facebook. You should act fast before this gets ugly. My stomach dropped. Because I knew then, truly knew. Kyle wasn't done. He was just getting started. The message arrived just after 8 that night. The apartment was quiet. The kind of quiet that feels borrowed. Jessica sat at the small kitchen table, gently coaxing Sophie to drink her milk. The baby fussed, then settled, her eyelids fluttering heavy with sleep. My phone buzzed against the laminate. Once. I picked it up. A link. No words. Just a Facebook video. Something inside me tightened before I even pressed play. The footage was shaky, filmed from inside a car. I recognized the intersection instantly. Charleston and Rainbow. There was Jessica, standing in that merciless heat. Sophie pressed her chest. The baby cried weakly. Jessica's face looked empty. Hollowed out. Then the caption appeared beneath the video. This is my wife, Jessica Richardson. She abandoned our family, took our daughter, and disappeared. She's mentally unstable and refuses help. If you see her, please contact me. I just want my baby home safe. Posted by Kyle Richardson. 2 hours ago. Already 15,000 views. The room tilted. I scrolled. The comments came like fists. What kind of mother uses a baby to scam people? She's obviously on drugs. Someone call CPS. I saw her last week. professional beggar. And then I saw Patricia's comment. Pinned, polished, rehearsed. I've tried so hard to help her. She's been like this since Sophie was born. We gave her everything, but she kept pushing us away, praying she gets the help she needs. 200 likes. Sympathy pouring in. I felt something tear inside my chest. A soft sound came from behind me. Jessica had seen my face. She stood, walked over slowly, and took the phone from my hand before I could stop her. She watched. She read. Her breathing grew shallow. They think I'm a bad mother, she whispered. Her fingers trembled. They think I'm using Sophie. Her voice broke completely. I didn't do anything wrong. She folded into the chair, hands over her mouth, trying not to scream. Everyone thinks I'm a monster. I took the phone and placed it face down on the table. They don't know the truth, I said. But they believe him, she choked. They all believe him. I wanted to drive to Kyle's house, to drag him into the street. Instead, I called Samuel. I've seen it, he said before I spoke. And you do nothing. What? My voice cracked. We let him lie. We let him expose himself, Samuel replied calmly. He wants a public fight. Don't give it to him. Every post is evidence. Every lie will hang him later. So we just stay silent. Yes. And we let him think he's winning. I hated it. But I trusted him. When I hung up, Jessica stared at the wall like something inside her had gone numb. I sat by the door that night, phone in my lap. 10 p.m., 22,000 views. Midnight, 31,000. 3 a.m., 43,000. By morning, 50,000 people had judged my daughter without knowing her name. And I knew Kyle's next move wouldn't be online. The knock came the following evening. 3 deliberate strikes. I was on my feet instantly. Through the peephole, I saw a tall man in his mid-30s. Crisp shirt. Calm eyes. Mr. Graham, he said evenly. I'm Garrett Richardson, Kyle's brother. I didn't open the door. You're kidnapping Kyle's daughter, he said. That's dangerous for a man your age. I told him to leave. He smiled, thin and joyless. You've had heart problems, haven't you? Stress can be unpredictable. My blood ran cold. If something happened to you, he continued, Jessica would be all alone again. He adjusted his collar. Think about that. Then he walked away. 30 minutes later, my phone rang. Kenneth Morris. You need to sit down, he said. I did. I found a life insurance policy Kyle filed 3 days after Sophie was born. $500,000. Beneficiary, Kyle. 100%. The room went silent. And Patricia, he continued. Her GPS shows she was parked at that intersection every day for 2 weeks. Watching Jessica beg, my vision narrowed. There are texts between Kyle and Brett. He paid him $500 a week to keep Jessica on the street, to keep her visible, waiting for something to happen. I whispered. Yes, Kenneth said. This wasn't theft. It was attempted murder by neglect. I looked across the room. Jessica slept on the couch, Sophie curled against her chest. Kyle hadn't just stolen from her. He'd tried to erase her. That night, I stopped reacting and started preparing. Because once truth becomes a weapon, you don't swing it wildly. You aim. The moment you stop being afraid, everything changes. Fear makes you hide. Fear makes you run. But clarity makes you dangerous. By the time the sun rose the next morning, I wasn't shaking anymore. My hands were steady, my thoughts sharp. Kyle had crossed a line that couldn't be negotiated away. He hadn't just destroyed my daughter's life. He had placed a price on it. And now, every step he took would be watched. Samuel moved fast. Within hours, restraining orders were filed. Kenneth compiled the digital trail, bank transfers, forged signatures, GPS pings, message logs. Each document felt heavier than the last. Not because it shocked me anymore, but because it proved how deliberate everything had been. This wasn't chaos. It was choreography. That afternoon, Samuel told me we needed one more thing. A confession. Not shouted. Not forced. Voluntary. So we set the trap. The Starbucks on West Sahara was chosen for a reason. Cameras, witnesses, ambient noise. A place where people felt safe enough to talk carelessly. I arrived early and sat near the back, my phone recording from my shirt pocket. At exactly 11, Patricia walked in first. Large sunglasses, linen blazer, confidence worn like armor. Kyle followed her, relaxed, almost smug. They sat across from me like this was a negotiation, not the beginning of their collapse. I'm glad you agreed to meet, Patricia said sweetly. I played tired, defeated. I just want to understand what happened. She leaned forward, voice dripping with false sympathy. Jessica has been unstable for a long time. What about the house? I asked quietly. The one I bought her. That's family property now, Patricia said without hesitation. She signed everything. And the money? Kyle spoke smoothly. Used for family investments. For $100,000. Gone. They didn't realize they were confessing. They didn't realize every word was being captured. When I stood to leave, Patricia smiled. Bring Sophie back where she belongs. I walked out without replying. 30 seconds later, Samuel joined me in the parking lot. We got it, he said. All of it. That afternoon, Kyle walked into Samuel's office with confidence and left without it. The recordings played. The documents followed. The life insurance policy. The forged signatures. The surveillance payments. The silence afterward was devastating. Kyle tried to speak, tried to negotiate, tried to offer money. Too late. When he finally stood to leave, his hands were shaking. For the first time, he understood something predators rarely do. He wasn't in control anymore. 3 months later, I stopped at the same red light. Charleston and Rainbow. October now. Cooler. Bearable. Across the intersection, I saw them. Kyle held a cardboard sign. Patricia sat on the curb. No designer clothes. No confidence. Just emptiness. Kyle looked up. Recognition flickered. Then shame. I didn't stop. Some endings don't need words. 20 minutes later, I was home. Jessica's apartment in Henderson. Small. Clean. Safe. She opened the door smiling. Behind her, Sophie toddled forward. Papa. I caught her as she laughed. This was why I fought. Not revenge. Not justice. Love. Because sometimes the greatest victory isn't watching evil fall. It's watching the people you saved finally live.